Hi everyone. Now in this video, I assume that you already set up your Ubuntu server. Okay, it can be either in the cloud or virtual machine. And what we're going to do today is to set up a database and also a NodeJS ingestion point where we can actually receive data via HTTP. Now, after setting up your Ubuntu server and also already install a database, you should be able to access your database via this command. Yeah. Now, for the first installation, usually the root password are empty, so it is actually advisable for you to set up the password for your server. But in this demonstration, I'm going to make it simple, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, so first thing first, let's create a database. So I'm going to create a database. I'm going to call it my DB. Okay, once you created the database, you can start use this database. Of course, having the database is not enough. We need to create a table. So now I'm going to create a table, and we're going to make it so simple that I only have one column. Yeah, one column to record my data. So in this case, but the table will have three columns. We will have one auto increment, and we set this as our primary key, and then we'll have a timestamp, column, and the last one is our column to store the data. So once you have that, you can now select all from my table. Of course, this table is now empty. You can try to insert something inside with this command: insert into my table, into the values. Okay, I can put something like 1, and then you can see from the select all from my table, you can see that yes, there's one record already recorded inside. This primary key ID will be auto increment, and also the timestamp, it will be automatically recorded based on your server time. Now once I've done this, I'll put this at one corner. So the database is now ready, and then we can start to create NodeJS to actually ingest data into this database. But usually the libraries will have some security issue saying that no, this is not allowed. So I think it is better for us to create a user. I mean, it is a good practice, okay, not to use the root to access your database. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a user now. User, I'm going to call this new user at alias localhost. Okay, now you can put in a password. This is your password. I'm going to make my password so easy that it's called new password. So I've created a new user, okay, and the password is called new password. Now of course I need to grant this new user with all the rights, okay, on the database that I have just created, on all the tables, yeah, to this new user. So I'm going to do this guy here. Alright, then of course I need to flush the privilege to actually take effect. Alright, I guess I'm done. So now we have one user, okay, that can actually access. Now of course, if you want to try with this user, what you can do is you can exit first, And then now what you do is, instead of running as root, you can log in as new user. When they ask you for password, it's called new password. Now there you are in already. So again, you can select, or you can have to use the database first. Use my DB. You can select or from my table. Okay, so now we are using a different user now. It's the new user, new password. Yeah, I mean this is a better practice. So let me put this one corner. So this database, I'm going to put it at this corner, and I'm going to open another one. Now this is for me to set up my NodeJS. Yeah, for NodeJS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new folder. Okay, I'm going to make a new folder. My NodeJS, or a folder. Okay. Now once you do this, I'm assuming that you already install your NodeJS and also npm. Yeah. So change to this NodeJS folder. Okay, and what you do is you can npm init. Let's create this menu or the npm or the node module. Once we have this one, right, there are a few things that we need to install. Yeah, I'm going to install Express, so that we have this Express framework. The code will be much easier. And of course, we also need to have the libraries for us to access the database. So I'm going to install MySQL library, yeah, for the Node.js. Now once we have done that, what we are going to do now is I'm going to create an empty file just to put in the code, just to try accessing the database, and also create a HTTP endpoint so that people can send us the data and we can keep it into the database. Yeah, so that's what we need to do. That's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to create a testdb file. Okay, a testdb. So in this case, basically, we will just want to test if we can connect to our database. Okay, so this is the library that we installed earlier. Okay, and then we want to put in the code to connect to the database. So let me give you the code here, which I have already typed it on earlier. So let me put it here. So you can see, first I get the library, and then set up the connections, and then I just want to see if I can insert something here. Now I want to insert, let's say, a value 99. Okay, if the connection fails, then of course that something is not right. Okay, so let's see if let's say we've done this. Let me save this. Now I want to run this code, test.js. Okay, sorry, there's no such table. Yep, my fault. We created the table for my table, not track. And let me save this again and run this. Yay! Okay, so when you see OK, then it should be good news. So you go back to our database, and you can see just now I put 99, the record is already in. So this means that our code to insert data is already working. Alright, so again, we install the MySQL library, and then we have the code to connect to the database, and this is basically the part where we actually insert into the table. Yeah, so we're going to run this one. So the next thing I want to do is going to do a connection, a point where people can send me their data via HTTP. Yeah, via HTTP. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have we call it the test connection. Okay, I'm going to call it test connection. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the Express module that we have installed earlier, and the code is actually pretty simple. Yeah, this is how we do it. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to have this endpoint where people come to us, and we're going to send us a get parameter value with some value. Yeah, so I'm going to save this and proceed with the execution. So clear this. So node has connection. So you can see this guy is running. So what I need next is to have my browser just to call this. Now this guy is this server is actually located. This is my IP address. I'm going to put this my IP address 168.141.128. Now do remember the port is 8081, and this is where we're going to put in the value. So I can say value equals to 100. You can see when I try to run this ingestion, value equals to 100. Oh, sorry, we should not supposed to be running on HTTPS. Yeah. So because we didn't set up the SSL. So once we run that, you can see that the value 100 is already transmitted from my browser to my Ubuntu server. This server is actually located at this particular IP address. Excuse me. So if you want to send in another number, for instance, I can put in any value here, and it will be received on the other end. Yeah. So what is next? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to combine the code between the test connection and also the test DB. Okay, I'm going to have I call it the ingestion point, the point where it ingests the data. So how do we do that? I'm going to copy the test connection part of the code and become my ingest.js. Okay, so this is my ingestion script or the code. So let me modify this code. Okay, so since we have this code, now the next thing what we wanted to do is to bring in the code that we have earlier. Okay, let me open another terminal so that we can have side by side looking at the codes of both that we wanted to combine. Okay, so we have this one where we're going to get the value from the HTTP, and then now we're going to pass it in here so that this database can store it. Now in order to make it neat and easy, instead of not putting all the code inside here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function called insert data. This is the parameter that you're going to pass me. So this is a function. What I'm doing is I'm going to take this whole thing. Okay, let me copy this. I'm going to pass this database over here, and I'm going to copy the code from the entire insert and paste it here. So you can see this function will take in a value, and then we're going to comment this out because the value here will be replacing the one that entering into the database. And I think we are done for the insert function. So once we are done the insert data, I'm going to put it right beneath here. So this is where we get the data from the get parameter. Yeah, dot query dot value. Yeah, so now let's save this program, and we can actually try run this program now. Let's hope there is no error. Yeah. This one is because the address is actually in use. Let me check if it's foreground and this one is running. So let's stop the program. So because the port is actually being held. So now let's run again. So I killed the earlier version. So now this one is working. So the port is released and my program, the new one, can actually reserve this port number. Now what we do now is we're going to use our browser to actually send the data in. So now let's say we send 101. So 101 is actually entered through our Node.js code. Now we should check if the data is arrived to our database. Yes, you can see the data actually arrived at our database 101. So you can have any numbers, any record that you want to put in. Once you put in, and then you should able to see the data is right here. Now, however, you have to be very careful because I'm actually recording it as integer. If you want to have floating point, make sure you change accordingly at your database and also your Node.js code. Yeah. Now, the next thing I wanted to share with you is like how we can actually write a program, like for example, your the other end of the program that want to send the data to this Node.js via, for instance, we want to create a Python. Okay, let's create a Python program. For example, we can create a text document. Okay, we call this the upload program. Okay, we got it called py. Yes, let me edit this one with my subline text. Okay, let me delete the rest of the code which is not used. Let me close all of them. Now, in order to upload using Python, right, you need to have this one. You need to import request. Now, if you don't have this request library, all you need to do is just to install it by going to your terminal, pip install request. Okay, after you do this, you should have this request module installed for you. So next, what we want to do is we just have to do something like that. Respond equals to request dot get. Yeah, this is where we can put in the URL that we have with the value we wanted. Now in this case, I want to make it flexible. I'm going to put a 103 here, and this is Python now. You can make use of this syntax to actually put in the value. And of course, if you want to see the response from the server, you can always print it out. So let's run this code and see what will happen. Okay, let me run this code. This response is 200, which I'm running this Python code. And now let's check out the database again. You can see that 103 is already inside. So you can see that we can actually insert data with other programming languages as long as they can speak HTTP. In other words, we call this a REST protocol. Now, things can be more fun now because I can actually do something like this. I can use a loop. For example, let's say I do it for 10 times. Then I change this value to I, and I can actually do a time dot slip. So this is like every 2 seconds I will submit a new record. Yeah. So when I run, you can see this I'm going to do the first one, second one, and third one. Okay. So go back to my database here. You can see that the data is actually being ingested. Alright. So this is how we can quickly use Node.js to actually receive data from other programs via HTTP, and we can actually put the data, keep it into our database. Yeah, so that's all for this video. Thank you very much. Goodbye.